When I was a production manager, I remember so many weekends being completely obliterated because I had to do time cards. Did that happen to you, Christian?
That was like every weekend in 2008 and 2009, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I once spent, I can remember getting time cards from other production managers in New York. It was me and Sarah Gold. And we would take in time cards over the weekend to get the extra dough, right? And we would get 600 time cards on a Friday night and then Monday have to give them back to the production. It was insane.
I think you might have done some of my time cards maybe once or twice.
100%.
Yes. Well, get this. There is a fellow producer out there who owned his own production company. And, they were young, they were upstarts, they were scrappy. And as they got bigger and bigger, they started to learn how complicated actual payroll is, actual time cards. And then they had to figure out insurance on their own. And, just like a typical producer out there on their own, trying to figure it out with no one leading the way and showing them the way of how to get this done. So what they did is they started to use their technology, their skills and technology to simplify the entire time card process.
I'm all in. Anything that we can do to, I once figured up the average time spent on a time card is about 45 minutes each. So when you think about that over the course of an entire job, you have to touch it. There's 7 pages of it. You have to double check. There's all of that. So anything to simplify it would only improve our lifestyles.
Well, that's what Cameron Woodward did. And we're going to be chatting with him today about how he went from producer to tech entrepreneur by co-founding Wrapbook. It's a new production management tool, which I just used on my last job. And it eases the burden on production teams and simplifies not only non-union time cards, but also union time cards because it's got all of those calculations and union contracts and industry standards already built in.
What? I still have my meal penalty calculation sheets from like Excel, and I would give that. But, you get that email where it's like, "Do you have a meal penalty calculator? I need one. We're going into overages." I'm like, here, I did it. Here, let me share it with you. So that's amazing. I also heard that it streamlines the collecting of onboarding forms, NDAs, behind the scenes releases, and all of it is now in a little packet digitally that can be signed?
Exactly. Yes.
Wait, does it say right here that they also offer production and workers' comp insurance?
Yes, all of it. So it's kind of an all-in-one shop.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about how this new production management tool can make your production life a little bit easier, then grab a drink and stick around for this episode of Producer's Happy Hour.
Drinks.
Welcome to the Producer's Happy Hour with your hosts, Sister Christian and Lawrence Lewis.
We're 2 producers with over 20 years of experience each, chatting over drinks about what it means
and what it takes to be a good producer.
Join us for insightful interviews and informative show topics that will help you get through your toughest jobs,
biggest production challenges,
and most difficult clients. So grab a drink.
You're going to need it.
And let's get to it.
Because making shit
is hard.
Christian, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today, Lawrence?
I am doing good. I'm so excited we're back recording these podcasts because this is going to be a fun one. We're doing a new series called Meet the Vendor. Remember, we were doing Meet the Crew at the beginning of the year. So Meet the Vendor, where we interview folks behind the companies that support our productions.
And today we're chatting with Cameron Woodward, the co-founder of Wrapbook, which is so exciting because I wish I had this 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And I just did my first production using Wrapbook. I was excited by it because, again, like you, I was like, why hasn't this been around for a long time? And it was an interesting process learning how to work with it. I didn't have a whole lot of time to pay attention to it because this was one of those doozy jobs. But I know my production team kind of struggled with it and some crew members did. But when I used it, it was kind of flawless. So it's interesting, and I'm excited to learn more about it.
Cameron, welcome to the show. Are you enjoying a drink for happy hour?
I am. I heard we will have a libation with this podcast, so I cracked open a beer. And I just want to say thank you so much for having me. This is so cool, and I'm just really delighted to get to know both of you and to just tell our story and hang out. This is awesome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. What kind of beer are you drinking? What'd you bring?
This podcast is brought to you by the great folks at Heineken.
Lovely.
Yeah, looking for sponsors.
There you go.
Today, Lawrence, I'm
Yes.
having a can drink, which is cannabis infused. They call it
Lovely.
the social tonic,
Yes.
lemon lavender flavor. I could possibly be working for somebody right now, so I didn't want. So I thought weed was safer than alcohol. We'll see, though.
Okay, well, I'm bringing an actual cocktail recipe because that's the point for this year. We're going to do more recipes. So I've got a rum and orange cocktail. And here's the recipe. I'll post it on the show notes so you guys have it. But it's 3 tablespoons of rum, preferably Jamaican rum, 2 tablespoons of Amaro Montenegro. And that's more cocktails with Amaro Montenegro, please. I'm going to be bringing a lot of those this fall. 2 tablespoons of sweet vermouth, 1 dash of grapefruit bitters, and a grapefruit peel, which I don't really have. But cheers to all of you.
That sounds delicious.
All right, let's dive in. But first, if you enjoy the support of other seasoned producers and production teams, if you like learning from other production professionals, and if you enjoy staying informed on the latest industry happenings, then look no further than the Producers Happy Hour Facebook community.
I happen to enjoy all of those things.
I bet you do.
So that's where we post about our latest episodes and, more importantly, have deeper discussions about what's happening in the business and support each other through those really tough jobs. And for the next generation of producers who are working their way up, we give insightful producing hacks, tips, trips, secrets, I don't know, back pocket shit, and most importantly, moral support. And Lawrence, we're going to start hosting some live Q&As, or what we like to call office hours, where you get all the dirt.
I love office hours. I need to have that happen soon because there's a lot going on. So we'd love to see you there. Please come by and say hello and let us know what your favorite cocktail is. Join the community at producershappyhourgroup.com or just click the link in the show notes. All right, let's get to the interview. Cameron Woodward is the co-founder of Wrapbook, a breakthrough entertainment payroll, insurance, and production management software. For employers and project-based workforces who work in media production, Wrapbook provides employment profiles that facilitate onboarding, paying, and insuring workers compliantly. And there's been a lot of new compliance rules coming around here in California, at least. Unlike traditional payroll, Wrapbook is easy to use, fast to wrap, and cost less. Their mission is to increase the prosperity of project economy through better financial services. Welcome, Cameron.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So let's get a little out of the way already of your background. What is your professional life prior to co-founding Wrapbook?
So I am, like you, a producer.
Amazing.
Of all things. I started a non-union commercial production company in the San Francisco Bay Area called Sprinkle Lab. It still actually exists. We started with nothing. We started with some DSLRs and a desire to get into film. And we really loved the commercial medium because we felt that it was other people's money that allowed us to learn the craft of filmmaking. And that's exactly what we did for close to 10 years. And it was in that process of learning about production that I was also able to learn about these really tricky operational things like production insurance and production payroll. And so it was really in solving and seeking out solutions to my own problems as a producer that led me into then starting an insurance agency for the film industry. And then from there, meeting more interesting sort of technologists who had this vision of like, let's integrate all of it. And so then we set off on this journey to build Wrapbook to kind of bring contemporary digital experiences to the production world. And it's been an unbelievable ride.
Well, if I can follow up for just a moment too, it sounds like it's exactly what mirrors the majority of our careers. Like you don't know what you don't know until you start, but there's really nowhere to learn it. So unless you make something like something big, a mistake, you don't know that it's wrong.
Totally. You know, one of the things I love about the film industry and like my experiences of getting into it, again, like my co-founders and I started with DSLRs, nothing. And as we got bigger and bigger projects, it's not like there was an easy place to go online and learn this stuff. You would take your precious production budget and go hire someone who's done it before and bring them in and give them a job. And then by way of doing that, they teach you and you learn.
Right.
And like, I love that about our industry because it applies to every role on set. You can hire and find and work with just amazing people who can bring their past experiences. And it really is just such a craft-based industry where you can learn from other amazing people and become more and more excellent through the years as you do more and more projects. I just absolutely love production. I still feel like a producer at heart. We love building the tools that we're building at Wrapbook because producers are very no-nonsense people. They have a problem, they want a solution, and so they're good at giving us feedback and letting us know when things are not as good as they could be, and then we get to be producers ourselves and say, okay, let's find a way to make it better.
So do you see yourself as a software company or a production solutions company? There's a fine line there.
I mean, I think that's a really good question. I mean, for me, in my career, like all of these kind of different threads all met up together. I loved production. I loved storytelling. I loved technology and the networked software that Silicon Valley was producing. And I loved financial services and risk management and insurance. And all three of these things kind of came together strangely. And like, that's how my career unraveled.
I love insurance.
I would say though, what's interesting, I think one of the ways that Wrapbook, we really think of ourselves as a technology company. You know, like we have raised money from technology venture capital funds, and we've hired amazing people from like Amazon and Microsoft and Facebook, and we've hired amazing people from the industry as well. And so it's like really this marriage between the best of production professionals and the best of technology professionals. And we're really trying to approach these problems that we deal with as producers with our technologist hat on. And I like to say that like Wrapbook is a technology company that does entertainment payroll. We're not an entertainment payroll company that tries to do technology.
Right.
And I think that like it's such a simple distinction, but the ramifications of that distinction are massive. And the implications have these big, big impacts on the industry.
Yes. So what is the Wrapbook mission statement? Because from what I've read, it seems to come from a desire to understand what it means to be a producer, which is fascinating to us because we can think we're good producers all day long, right? But unless you think we're good, does it really matter?
So Wrapbook's mission is to increase the prosperity of the project economy through better financial services. Before digging into that, I'd love to just ask you a question, maybe for both of you. Like, in your view, what is prosperity?
Security, future solvency.
I love it.
Am I right? Is there a right answer?
I don't know if there's I'm curious. And is there another answer from you? I see, Christian?
Well, for me, it's a personal thing. It's community-based. Prosperity to me means that my value should not only be tied to the last time I did a good job and that's why I'll get hired again. It should be community-based and a full understanding of how I would like to present myself and also help others. So prosperity is not only about me, it's about who else can benefit from what I know.
I love it. And the reason why I ask you all that is because I think you both absolutely nailed it with the definition. At least our spirit and our heart at Wrapbook is to increase the prosperity for all of the stakeholders in the project economy. And it's exactly what Lawrence and what you mentioned. That can be a financial element. That can be something that sets you up for more success down the road. But then it also ties into the community element as well. I mean, we think of the project economy, especially in the film and entertainment industry, to be composed of a lot of different stakeholders, from the folks paying for content, for the people producing the content, for the people who are on set in their own roles making the content, to even the viewers of the content itself. I mean, I think what's so magical and incredible about our industry as filmmakers and storytellers is that we do this work, we produce these stories, and then they can scale to everyone on the planet, and people can connect and build community around these stories, and an entire industry can make money and feed their families and get up in the morning and do great work. And so our mission, I know it's so broad, but that's what makes a mission great, is to increase the prosperity of this industry, of skilled individuals and professionals who come around projects to bring their skills and their insight to produce amazing work. And the way that we think about this at Wrapbook is that there's never been a better time to use software and pair that software with financial services to then increase the prosperity of the full stack of everybody involved in that process. Right. And so that's really what gets me excited every day. And especially as having been a filmmaker and having struggled to get a good project made, like it fills me up with a tremendous amount of warmth and excitement to like get that producer home faster, or to help them wrap 2 days earlier, or to get the crew member paid faster, or to help the crew member even know where their payment is. Because it's like, you get booked on 5 jobs in a month. You're too busy working to even track down all of your payment. Building contemporary software interfaces to just help everyone do their job better and faster. It's a very helpful thing.
This is really amazing because initially, we kind of thought maybe this interview we'd just be talking about the functions and how does it work and what does Wrapbook do? And the more we kind of looked into you and your company and your partners, there's a lot more heart behind it, which is something Christian and I are drawn to because there is this lack of community and there is this lack of mentorship and guidance, specifically in commercial filmmaking. And, that's why we started this podcast, is just to kind of share information. And so people can learn because there's not a whole lot of people coming up under us, and where do they get the information from?
And the encouragement for that too is not there either. It's almost, you have to pretend you know what you're doing instead of just asking a question.
Totally.
So was there like a specific moment in your producing career trajectory where you just saw the light and was like, this is what is needed?
Absolutely. Okay. Well, let me paint a picture for those of you listening who have not had to use a kind of a traditional payroll process or provider. You realize, I need to pay my cast and crew compliantly or else I'm going to get sued. So I'm going to go online. I'm going to go try to find an entertainment payroll provider. And then you get a big box of paperwork in the mail and a letter that says, hey, good luck. And this process is just extremely painful. I'm on my email, I'm on my phone, I'm crewing up a job, I'm negotiating rates. I have to just have this leap of faith that all the people I booked will show up on set, Yeah.
Yep.
And then, the kind of classic process of start work and getting people ready to be compliantly paid could easily take an hour and a half of time that could easily be used, like setting up a next scene. And like for all of us that are listening to this, we know like every hour is valuable on a shoot day. And like if you can get that work done before you ever even get to set, like that's easily an hour and a half that you get back to work, which is phenomenal. For my journey as a producer, we started as a really small shop and we just like, to your point, we didn't even know what we didn't know. We thought you could just pay cast and crew members as contractors. And so for years we did that until our productions became sophisticated enough. We're like really thoughtful, kind crew members were like, hey, by the way, you're doing this wrong and you can get in big trouble. And I'm like, wait, what? No way are you guys employees. No, it turns out if you tell people when to work and you provide them tools, like they're employees, they're not contractors. And then that was when I went out and I like started doing it legitimately at my production company. Probably once we started getting to like budgets up north of $100,000, where I was like, okay, not only is it costing me more money to pay people compliantly, that's not what I'm offended by. I'm never offended as a producer for paying people correctly.
No.
It was the burden of the process and how frustrated my cast and crew members were by this, how frustrated I was by this, how long it took to wrap my production. And it was just like, there has to be something better. And like, I'm from Silicon Valley. It's like we have the most amazing technology. Like, where's the technology company that's making this easy for the project economy? Oh, there isn't one. It doesn't exist. And so this just kind of haunted me for years. And it kind of just coalesced where my amazing co-founders were like, hey, like we can solve this. Let's go after it. And that's what we did.
So I have a question. So I know Lawrence has used it. I have not. So I'm wondering if I go to use your software, what do you think is the most beneficial thing right off the bat that, would be important for me as a producer to use?
Or production team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
what's so interesting to me about Wrapbook is like lots of little things add up into being very, very substantial. First and foremost, I think what makes Wrapbook stand apart and be extremely, extremely powerful and unique is that any cast and crew member that has signed up and has worked with Wrapbook can then take their Wrapbook profile to onboard and get set up on another production instantly, right? So that's it. So like once you have my name, my birthday, my information, I can onboard with a click instead of doing it over and over again.
If I had a nickel every time a crew member was like, I just fucking filled this out last week for the same company, it's like, I know you have to do it again. Yeah.
Totally. And then you're even hiring as a production company, multiple like payroll coordinators or payroll PAs. And all they're doing during a production day is filling out a person's first name, last name, address. I remember I hired an amazing production coordinator who was like, I made a stamp with your production company's name on it so I can just stamp your name. That was, we've made a big improvement. We have a stamp.
We have a stamp now.
And so like that was the state of production payroll 5 years ago before Wrapbook existed. So to your question, I think like based off of this idea that your identity is yours and you should be able to take it with you from job to job, company to company, that is on its own a massive innovation, right? And so even for like cast and crew members who maybe do not like using contemporary internet tools, we find that once somebody has used Wrapbook once, they love it. The grumpiest personalities do not like doing it the first time around, but the second time they say to us at Wrapbook, why hasn't it always been this way? Because as grumpy as you are grumpier filling out the same form 500 times a month.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So that's it. And then there's all of these other things that add up. So for those of you that have done payroll and you're listening, right? Like one of the most annoying things is I want to pay a crew member 2 different rates. Maybe there's a pre-light day and then a shoot day, and they're 2 different rates. If there's 2 different rates, it means that there's 2 different pieces of arithmetic you need to do to figure out the hourly. Wrapbook, you can literally produce as many rates as you want, and it calculates it all for you. So instead of manually calculating time cards or reading a paper time card, wondering, is that a 5 or a 6? Is that a 9 or like, what did they write? The data is clean, which makes accounting easier. The system can automatically calculate this stuff. One of our awesome clients is a huge commercial production company called Smuggler. They say that they save on average a day of wrap time on every job. That's just so exciting for us. You know, you said something earlier, I think it was you, Lawrence, where it was like, hey, I'm busy producing. I'm not even thinking about payroll right now.
Yeah.
Right? And like, I actually love that. I think that's how it should be. This should be a non-issue. And I think the problem with production operation technology historically is it forces you to think about it. And that's so distracting to the core work that we're trying to do as producers. Like, let's bring cutting edge technology like the rest of our industry has and bring it to the back office as well.
Yeah. I remember using database software, FileMaker Pro or something like that, keeping all my crew in there. Then I had these time card calculators that were so rudimentary, but at least, it helped some of the process. There was nothing in there about union rules or meal penalties or any of that kind of thing. That's all embedded, I assume, all the different types of union rules and rates. And
yeah, this is such a good question, right? So I think fundamentally the user profile that comes with you from job to job, just foundationally important. But there are so many rules in our industry. So one of the little pieces in Wrapbook that I love, it's like one of my favorite little features, is if you are onboarding a new worker to Wrapbook and they are under the age of 18, the system will automatically populate another step saying like, hey, tell me your Coogan account information, right? Like Coogan accounts is a trust account for child actors that is applicable in certain states like California, New Mexico, Illinois, New York. And it's so easy to forget all of these steps. Like, again, you're a producer, you've got a million things going on. What's awesome about Wrapbook is by simply using it, the system keeps you aligned with the proper rules. Similarly with the union contracts, right? So if I am AICP production company and I have a AICP union agreement with the IATSE and I'm onboarding a worker, I can tell the system what local the worker is in. I can pick the job that they're in, and the system will automatically populate the correct scale rate. The system will automatically calculate the right meal penalties. And for those of you that have worked on union productions, even for many years, how complex the rules can be. Is it in the zone? Is it out of the zone? Is it a travel day? Is it a non-travel day? Like there are so many rules, and having a system of record that knows these rules and can automate it and keep you compliant not only saves a ton of time, but it saves money and it saves a tremendous amount of aggravation for everybody end to end.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about insurance. What's the insurance offerings that you have embedded into this?
Really good question. Okay. So Wrapbook is, as I said, a technology platform first and foremost with an employer of record kind of embedded in it. And so an employer of record is an entertainment payroll provider. What this means is that if you use Wrapbook to hire a cast or crew member as an employee, Wrapbook actually employs those people on your behalf as it relates to payroll compliance and workers' compensation administration. So that means that if you have a cast or crew member that gets hurt and they need to file a claim for workers' comp, Wrapbook will actually work with that employee to find the care that they need. And the reason why employers of records or entertainment payroll companies are so useful for producers is, let's say you're spinning up an LLC for a documentary project and you're filming across 5 states, well, to do that compliantly, you're technically supposed to talk to the Secretary of State of every single one of those states. You have to maintain records. So it just becomes this massive burden. Instead, working with an employer of record like Wrapbook allows you to kind of offload all of that compliance and workers' compensation burden to us, and we manage it for you and lots of other different production companies. And so when you talk about the insurance offering at Wrapbook, as it relates to our employer of record service, that's the workers' comp administration that we engage in, so that if a cast or crew member gets hurt, they can interface with Wrapbook and we will help them find the care. In addition to that, Wrapbook also has a fully owned independent insurance agency with 2 full-time insurance brokers who live and breathe production insurance. And that is things like general liability, third-party property damage, rental insurance. These are the types of insurance products that you just have to have in addition to workers' comp insurance to have a safe and reasonable production. Our insurance agency is like just a really amazing value add for existing Wrapbook clients.
Amazing. A one-stop shop.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, have you guys ever read or been exposed to the Wrapbook blog either?
I think I perused a little bit of it, just kind of prepping for this interview.
That's awesome. I would be a fool not to call it out. You were mentioning earlier, like what you guys are doing is so important in building community amongst producers. Wrapbook has taken a stance, like in our marketing, to be as dedicated to the community as we are in the product that we build. So like we publish 3 times a week on our blog, all about production things. It's really trying to build just community, platform, and financial services products for the industry at large.
This leads me to my next question. And forgive me, I came in cold because I wanted to. I wanted to ask all the questions. This is not a brag, but back when Point Zero and Showbiz and all of that, I'm license number 33 for Point Zero. You know, Hot Budget, you know, like Hot Budget is like really geared towards, you have to own it, right? And so I'm wondering if Wrapbook is more for companies or is it more for everybody? Like as an individual, can I bring this where I go and it will still be beneficial to me, even though the company isn't behind it?
That's such a great question. Thank you for asking, right? Like, I think what's really cool about Wrapbook is we started in non-union payroll. And we started our business really focusing on like photo studios. And the product is one in which small one-off indie filmmakers can use it or large institutional studios can use it. A couple of things. You just mentioned like budgeting software or actualization software like Hot Budget or Point Zero. Wrapbook has the ability for you to export our data into your Hot Budget or into your Point Zero to actualize. I don't know if any of you guys have ever used Slack, right? But like on Slack, you can like actually change your workspace. What's really cool with Wrapbook is that when you sign in, you're not the company. You are you. It's just that you might happen to be the admin of this company or that company. So like, let's say you are an independent film producer and you spin up 6 LLCs a year for all of your films. That means you would actually have 6 different Wrapbook accounts, but you would just log in with your name. And then you would be the admin to those 6 different companies. Similarly in Wrapbook, if you were just like a production coordinator, so like if you built your own Wrapbook account, right, you could create as many projects as you wanted, and then you could actually invite as many project coordinators to those projects as you wanted, where then they have control to execute on the production company's behalf against that project, but they can't like run the payroll and they can't get access to all of the other reports and all of the other projects. And so the system is designed in such a way that it really considers and enables all of the different types of stakeholders in a production to operate it. So like you can have as many companies as you want, you can have as many projects as you want, and then you can report against those projects and those companies as you see fit.
Amazing. Wow.
When you said to use Slack, I'm like, I have currently 3 production companies and 3 streaming services that I've worked for with Slacks right now. And they're all like, it's constant with it, but I get what you mean.
I also want to mention, I mean, by the time most people listen to this, also, hello, listener, get ready for this.
Say hi.
We actually are right now so close to launching a PO and petty cash solution in the system as well.
Okay.
Which is
Stop it. Get out of my head.
I mean, I don't want to, you know, what a sexy topic, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be.
Producers are like, ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, no, for anybody who's a paperwork, maven, as most of us had to be, yeah, that's very exciting news, actually.
How are you differentiating yourself from those types of big monolithic companies that are trying to update the process into some sort of digital solution?
Well, look, we talked about it at the start of the podcast. Are you a payroll company trying to adopt technology, or are you a technology company that offers payroll? Right. Mm-hmm. And so the first thing for us is like an extreme focus on research and understanding what it means to be a producer. And look, we were able to cut the line a little bit. Like, I'm a producer, right? And we have amazing people in the industry at Wrapbook. We have an amazing labor relations team. We've got like all of these incredible institutionally wise people. But because we started as a technology company, that means we have amazing user interface designers. And it means that we are using contemporary software patterns to make the experience better. So like, we have a mobile app at Wrapbook, like a truly native iOS mobile app that is so cool because it can show the worker, how much should I get paid this week? How much should I get paid this month? How much should I get paid this year? By which companies? What is the status of my payment? You can see a record of everything you've ever done. So first and foremost, how do you get people to actually like and use a digital time card? Well, give them a platform and ecosystem that adds value to their lives beyond just entering data in. Beyond that, can you give a cast or crew member a time card that can actually automatically calculate their time for them so they know how much they're getting paid? At Wrapbook, companies can actually enable a setting to allow workers to actually know what the outcome of their time is. So to answer your question, how do you make a digital time card sexy? Well, maybe that's impossible, but if you want to get close, you can just use some like contemporary iOS functionality. You can make it so that you don't have to fill out a piece of paper that's carbon copied. It's just trying to get out of the way.
I was just actually stumped for a second because I remember what popped in my mind was a Teamster and about 15 years ago going, what do you think happens to my social security number that I've written on this piece of paper over and over and over again, every fucking job I show up on? And I was like, I don't know, what's this out of my hands? I don't really care. That is the sexiest part right there, is safety.
I am so glad you brought this up. I'm slapping myself on the hand. I should have brought this up. I mean, any producer that's done payroll knows, like, you've got extremely sensitive personal identifiable information, workers' names, home addresses, birth dates, social security numbers, oftentimes bank account numbers on set that sit on paper in a banker's box and gets mailed around
for
to
7
different
years.
People.
Yep.
People are coming in and out.
Yeah, I've heard so many stories from casting crew members accepting a job from a producer that they've never worked with before and saying like, hey, do you need my information? And the producer's like, no, I already have it. And it's like, wait, what? At Wrapbook, we use bank grade security, similar to logging into your Chase Bank or to your, any of your bank accounts. Like, we have a full security team to kind of keep this information private. So security, Christian, to your point, is a huge advantage. Just keeping your stuff private and so that nobody can see it.
What is your vision for the future of Wrapbook besides, PC and POs, which have gotten us real excited?
My vision, and on the macro side, I'll speak to kind of like my dream or my hope, right? Like, I think I really do sincerely believe that cinema, storytelling, production is a very powerful way for people to know themselves and to know each other. And historically, a very, very small number of people have been able to be professional storytellers through the medium of cinema because it's just expensive and difficult. And for me, for Wrapbook to continue to build tools to make production easier actually democratizes access for more people to tell their stories, to throw a big event, to go on a music tour. And so in a way, my vision is that we can help accelerate the number of interesting stories in the world through the tools that we build. On a more practical level, something that's not as pie in the sky. It is POs.
We love pie.
Petty
Listen,
cash,
we love pie.
budget tracking, budget actualization, compliant payments. It's getting out of the way of the good work that producers do so that we can do more of it. That's really the vision. And that's really the hope. It's to increase the prosperity of the project economy. I asked you both what you thought about prosperity because that's what we think about. We think it's money in your pocket. We think it's you going home to spend time with your kids instead of working on a budget. We think it is a crew member getting paid 9 days faster. We think it's the union not having to chase down faulty reports. And that's really what we're all about. Better tools to make a better world.
Cameron, that's amazing. Spot on. Again, like I said, we thought we were going to be talking about like, oh, what's the functionality of the software you made? But there's so much more heart behind it and so much more thought and consideration behind it, which is great. Thank you so much for having a drink with us today. I hope the beer treated you well.
Cheers all. Yeah.
Cheers all. What's the best way for people to find out more about Wrapbook? I know you've got the blog, you've got wrapbook.com. Is that just the central hub where people should go to?
I mean, first and foremost, we have templates available for free. Ebooks, like if you want to know how to pull a permit in New York or in LA, if you want to get access to like crew release contracts or just any sort of resource, Wrapbook has all types of templates and ebooks available to you at wrapbook.com. We even have like a really cool tool, like find your SAG agreement. So like it's a little quiz where you can tell us what your project is and it will suggest to you which contract you're on so you can figure out the scale rates and budget. The blog posts, 3 posts a week, all about production. So definitely check us out there. If you do payroll, if you pay people in production, whether they're a contractor, a loan out, an employee, do a demo of Wrapbook. We would love to show it to you. I think you'll like it. And you can get access to all of those resources at wrapbook.com. I'm Cameron Woodward. You can find me at cameron@wrapbook.com. You can send me a message, or you can talk to our whole marketing team too at marketing@wrapbook.com as well.
Love it. Thank you very much for joining us. Christian, how do people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you?
Well, they can go to sisterchristianproduces.com. I'm always there just looking around, making sure I'm shit's thing. Lawrence, if people want you, how do they get you?
LawrenceTLewis.com. You can find all my goodies over there. Thanks again, Cameron.
My pleasure.
Producers Happy Hour was brought to you with the help of Christopher Daniels,
who is a design and branding specialist. Thanks for listening, and remember,
enjoy happy hour when you can.
Because making shit is hard.